Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends, and I have the Großer Kurfürst. Legendary German battleship. Here you see it in its nice looking, at least in my opinion, hunter camo on Tears of the Desert. And this video is going to kind of be an early impressions video of this ship. I've played about 5 or 6 games in it, I think, maybe a little bit more. Still don't think I've quite gotten the hang of it, and I will say it's kind of a tricky ship to use, and I'll go into what makes it a tricky ship to use. Number 1, the maneuverability. Now, if I were closer to this battleship in front of me, you might get a better idea of just what a colossal, hulking behemoth this thing is. It's less of a battleship and more of a floating armored bunker the size of an island. It has a 1,050 meter turning circle, so it takes a full kilometer to make like a 360 degree turn. That is huge. That's the biggest turning circle radius in the entire game. And the base rudder shift time, 19.4 seconds, I think. So I did put the steering gears mod on here, and I got it down to something like 15 seconds, which is a little bit more manageable. You definitely have to plot a course when you're driving this ship. You gotta decide where you're going far in advance. To some degree, I suppose, you have to do that in every single battleship there is, because, battleships, they're big. They're not the most maneuverable class of ships. You do, and for the most part, they're kind of slow too. So you do kind of have to plan out your movements in advance, at least to some degree. And maybe you're good at doing that, plotting a course. And if so, you might be able to get the hang of this Großer Kurfürst more quickly than others if you're able to take that skill of plotting your course and sort of amplify it. I mean, to whatever degree you have to plan ahead in any other battleship, you have to plan ahead more in this thing, particularly if there are enemy destroyers around. I have never been afraid of Udachis more than I am in this Großer Kurfürst. There happens to be one in this game, and I think we're going to meet him. Now, the Großer Kurfürst does come with 2 charges of sonar, so that's nice. And on paper, that's going to help you dodge torpedoes, and, it will. If they're torpedoes that are slow, launched by a Fletcher, for example. I've come across a number of Fletchers as I've played this ship, and I've had no problem dodging those torpedoes, even without the use of the sonar. It's a lot easier to dodge slow-moving torpedoes. Udachi torpedoes, on the other hand, I think pretty much every time I've actually been killed in this ship, it's because of Udachi torpedoes. The armor on this thing is pretty good. I've watched Yamato shells bounce off the bow, so the bow is virtually indestructible. Although, much like the Vladivostok, this ship does have a very flat bow. It doesn't curve up in the way that something like the Iowas would. So the turrets on the bow and the stern are both very exposed, and they get taken out. It feels like they get taken out relatively easily. Maybe not quite as easily as the turrets on the Jean Bart or even the Vladivostok, but rather easily nonetheless. So that, of course, makes me a little bit salty. And, speaking of turrets, if you're a fan of the German battleships or the Bismarck, but you wish that the secondaries on the Bismarck were more effective, well, I'm happy to report that the secondaries on the Großer Kurfürst seem to be fairly effective. More effective than the Bismarcks, at least. But there's one drawback. the Bismarck secondaries can achieve a max range of something like 11 to 12 kilometers with a full secondary build using the secondary mod in the first slot, the Porcupine skill on either Hide or Ciliax, and a high-level Hipper as an inspiration for either Hide or Ciliax. The Bismarck secondaries can reach out pretty far. With a full secondary build on the Großer Kurfürst, including a level 16 Hide and a level 14 Hipper as an inspiration for him, the secondaries on this range out to something like 7.4, 7.5 kilometers, basically around the base range of the Bismarck secondaries. So that is kind of a disappointment because, like I said, they seem to be quite a bit more effective than the Bismarcks in situations where you do actually get to use them. But I've decided not to go for a full secondary build on this. I've decided instead to focus on the main guns. Why? Well, because they're pretty good. Took out that Wichita there. He wasn't quite full health, but single strike on him, we're up to 42,000 damage now. So the guns are pretty good. I've decided I'd spec into them. I am using Hide, level 16, with Flammable Cannoneer. That's the only skill of Hide's that I'm using to go toward the accuracy of the guns. Got a level 16 Cunningham and a level 11 Robert Jaujard. And I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. You're gonna probably have to correct me in the comments. Anyway, I've got those two as inspirations because I'm putting all of this, the entire build, apart from the other skills on Hide, which I use more for the tankiness aspect or survivability aspect, into the guns. Since they are quite effective, we're going to shoot at that Bismarck right now. We're going to see how effective they can be on a broadside battleship. That's about, 19, almost 20k in that salvo, and it was more toward the back of his ship. There's some torpedoes, by the way, that we sort of pre-dodged. They are from the single destroyer on the enemy team. It is the Udachi. Unfortunately, the Udachi seems to have saved his reload booster for me. Thought we were in the clear there, but that's unfortunately not the case. I do get sort of an intuition moving on to pop the sonar, and what do you know, there are more Udachi torpedoes. Maybe that wasn't the reload booster. I'm not sure. Either way, no chance whatsoever of dodging all of these. I'm going to take 3, and luckily that third one I think hit in an area of the ship that was damage saturated because it did a whole lot less damage. The ship only has 25% torpedo reduction. You definitely don't want to get hit with Udachi torpedoes. We do pay the Udachi back there by shaving off 2,700 of his hit points. So that's nice, and he is killed. So I am safe to move in. What I've been doing so far in this ship, the range on the main guns is pretty good. 18.7 base, and if you apply the epic booster of battle propensity flag, you can get them shooting out to 19.2. So much like probably the smart strategy is in the rest of the German battleships, you definitely want to play them at range, probably about for the first 5 minutes of the game, as I've done here, and then you can start to move in as the battle develops. Try to get into good situations, get broadside shots on enemies. These guns can absolutely punish cruisers when they don't overpen, and battleships that are showing broadside. You can get some wicked salvos. Now, of course, that Mogami was showing broadside, and we got overpens, although 6 of those hit, and we got the Confederate award off of that. There are the Mogami torpedoes, not quite as fast as the Udachis, and those, because I was already actively kind of maneuvering, much easier to dodge. The Mogami is down, though. That just leaves 3 enemy battleships, an Iowa, and an enemy Yamato. So we're going to get a legendary versus legendary duel coming up here. Although, it may not have the most climactic ending. In any case, we Citadel the Iowa for 20k. Of course, he's showing flat broadside. He's definitely got a lot of armor, no danger of these shells overpenning, and there he takes out one of the turrets. So you can see what I mean about these turrets being taken out. Iowa shells don't have to hit an angled bow. They just can go right over it, smack into the turret, disable it. He's still giving broadside though, or at least too much broadside, so we get 7k off that hit. Do get 2 over penetrations actually. And that was only one of the guns, so 3 shells. He takes out the gun again, of course, and, you know, that's a little bit frustrating. If you've ever watched me stream, you know how frustrated I can get when my turrets get taken out. That's one of the only things that makes me really kind of legitimately salty for a few moments. Anyway, the Iowa is going to go down. We don't get to get the killing blow. Still dealing with one of the turrets being knocked out, and the Yamato comes around broadside. Now, I do want to shoot him, preferably in the cheek underneath those turrets, but I am going at a pretty quick speed. My guns are not going to be reloaded, so why not go for the ram? There we go. He goes down. We end the game with 189,000 damage thanks to that ram. And there's only a single battleship left. He's not going to be around. Yeah, no, he's dead. Or maybe that was a cruiser. I don't know. Anyway, there's a quick look at the Großer Kurfürst. I'll have a more detailed review when I can get a more representative game in it. But I hope you enjoyed this for now. If so, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks. See you next time.